Barry Crocker. His name has become part of our vernacular for having a shocker. Tonight he opens up on everything from the adventures of Barry McKenzie to losing his great mate, Barry Humphries.
Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down.
Well, Ellie, I got to tell you, I'm wearing the hat tonight as a salute to the man who invented a character called Barry McKenzie that has imprisoned me for the rest of my life. So that's, thank you, Barry.
Barry Crocker admits losing his great mate has been tough.
Yes, having a Barry Crocker, I think.
It's really rattled you, hasn't it, his death?
Yeah. You know, I don't cry because tears fill my eyes.
What were some of those emotions when you first heard the news
Well,
he'd passed?
first, great shock. You know, I mean, he was so close, family in a sense. And I just couldn't believe it. And I kept saying, are you sure? He can't, no. Barry would walk through a brick wall to get to an audience. He's not going to, surely, you know.
Was Barry expecting just to go in and have hip surgery and come out?
Of course. Yeah, he wouldn't have given, he was very flippant about it. And I'll be out of here because I've got the tour planned for the end of the year, and I've got to be up and running. See, you would have I felt you'd need kryptonite to stop him, he was all up and go, and this is why it came as such a shock.
The tale of three Barrys goes way, way back. How did Barry meet Barry?
Well, we were kind of aware of each other because I'd gone out in 1956 on a country tour, and what Barry did, he started to go into the different reviews, and Edna was born there. So we'd heard about each other, and then a little later we'd sort of seen each other on television and stuff. We talked about this idea that he'd been working on for years and years, and all of a sudden I find myself in London, starting on the adventures of Barry McKenzie.
The Adventures of Barry McKenzie,
which began as a comic strip before getting the big screen treatment. Barry Humphries seemingly always had a lanky Barry back in Australia in mind to play the role.
So I was lucky to get the part because it came down to two people at the end, because he wanted someone who was not a bad actor and someone with a big chin. And it came down to me and Joan Sutherland, and I got the part, so ever grateful, mate.
Catch me first, you pommy bastard.
They were wild times, and the wildly talented cast and crew made the most of them. How much fun was that time, and were there any rules?
Well, we decided to not care about the rules. There were no rules.
Don't forget to change your underwear.
We had a very limited budget. We had very little time, 4 weeks to shoot the whole thing.
Is there anything you'd like?
So right there is. Like a Ned Kelly whiskey and a Swift Naughty and a Danny Sinners and no smoking like goes now.
It was fearless, and we touched on subjects that today you couldn't talk about,
Always leading the way was Barry Humphries.
We had permission to shoot in the Eiffel Tower, which was a great honour,
Big deal.
And the Lord Mayor at the time of Paris wanted to come along to have a look at the shoot and so forth. And everyone had warned Barry that he hated drag queens. And of course this was the red flag to the bull, for Barry. And he made his way through the crowd and he stood beside the minister and he said, silver plate, monsieur? I mean, who would do that? Only Barry Humphries.
And this is why you have described him as fearless.
Fearless.
Come on, down.
The first Barry McKenzie film was slammed by the critics.
People were saying this is the worst film ever to have happened in Australia's cinematic history. And other people would say, burn it before anyone sees it.
Barry remembers it was a struggle to find cinemas to screen it.
So what Barry organised were all these stunts around Melbourne that got the press. We'd have hold up traffic, make the news, and all the mayhem that we'd caused. We had a queue going right round the corner of Swanston Street, right up into and all these people were desperate to see this new movie.
See, that's the genius of Barry Humphries, isn't it?
I'll tell you something else about that too, because it was a giant success. It was the first movie to make $1 million in Australia, which we're all proud of course, because that kick-started investors, into thinking there may be some money to make in the Australian film industry. We knew then that we'd made a contribution to Australia. Bad as it may have seemed, we made a contribution.
Buoyed by that success, the two Barrys hit the club circuit, where another classic Humphries character was created.
I always like to think about Les Patterson, one of his great characters, and he was invented on my floor when we were living at Wahroonga.
It's the upmarket drink of today. Although it's not fizzy, it's a beaut aphrodisiac when you're in need of a lay.
Barry Crocker went on to enjoy a stellar recording and TV career, winning the Gold Logie in 1970, while Barry, Edna, Les and Sandy conquered the world. How do you think Barry would feel about the outpouring of love?
He would adore it. He loved the adoration. He would have loved it.
A state funeral, a worthy
A
send-off?
state funeral. Barry would say, "What, only?" Vale, my friend Baz, Edna, and all the others. Bye-bye.